Grand Rising, my people, peace, love, light. Yeah, once you are aware of how a trick works, how a scam works, the scam no longer can have any effect on you because now you would avoid all odds of being scammed. Okay? So once you're aware of how these vampires works by sucking your blood, and you're aware of what they do and the schemes they come up with and the tricks, it no longer have any effect on you. You then seclude yourself. You evacuate yourself from being a part of that system. Well, it's the same way with anyone in life. When knowledge come of self and you are aware of all that has been done to your ancestors during slavery, the negatives and the positive that you could bring out of it is to remove yourself from being a subject, remove yourself from being a slave. Because a trick only can work on you intelligent minds once. As long as you find out that you've been tricked the first time, it no longer has any effect on you because you would not make it trick you for the second and the third time. Only a ignorant and a naive person begin to fall back in that same trap they fall in before. And that would be the ignorance of not knowing who they are, where they're coming from, and who they're supposed to represent. And that is the essence of mental, physical, and spiritual slavery. So the trick that has been used to deceive our people in the form of the birth certificate and its process, which was issued in 1492 to chattel indigenous people as property. And we indigenous aboriginal descendants who is sending the message very strong and very firmly to awaken the sleeping people who is unaware that they are literally slaves and they're being used like puppets because they're being tricked into believe what they're doing is right, and it's somewhat compulsory and it's part of making the system running, when in fact the system itself is the predator, the system itself is the deceiver, the system itself is the vampire. So for the system to survive, you have to give power to it. So if you're not aware of how the trick runs with the politicians and the corporate system that was invented from slavery, okay, if you're unaware of how it works and how it perceives itself and the lies and the indoctrination pushing through the media, the radio station and the TV broadcasting and the school curriculum in school, if you're unaware of how it's propagated and how it's used to indoctrinate and keep you mentally slave, along with the various different aspects of religions that is used to keep you thinking in the box where you can't come out. Once you're unaware of it and you're not critically thinking for yourself, then you are not going to see what we see. Then it's easily to keep you manipulated and controlled. And most of my brothers and sisters are in this rectangular purpose because of not only the indoctrination of the mental slavery, but because they put money in front of others. They use money towards getting away or getting ahead. So they would literally sell their own out, okay, to Master and his colony, just to promote the trick and the connery, just for the foolish, ignorant ones who they refer to as citizens, who has no understanding that the earth was made free and everything in it is free. And so you don't have to pay tax for you to live. That is a master system that is designed to thief your land and resources. You don't have to comply with these fraudulent statutes, code and ordinance that was designed to rob you of your livelihood and assess you as just being a property or a servant to them. And that's what our citizens are, servant. If you don't believe what we're saying, I suggest a lot of you take your own research and prove if 1492 the birth certificate was not born, and the birth certificate was issued to chattel indigenous piece of property. So chattel indigenous people as property. And when you research and find the truth out, don't just come and tell me, I apologize, you're speaking the truth. Try to make a difference for yourself and try to go and teach the ones who don't know. Try to put it in a perspective way, a relevant way, a clear factor that it will open others' eyes and they would be convinced that being under these systems is a destructive element towards human development and restoring the balance what was lost and stolen from our Aboriginal ancestors under these cooperative states that is used to trick and deceive you, because the birth certificate never had full disclosure. If something come to you or someone come to you and offering you a contract, telling you that they would like you to go in partnership with them, all you have to do is pop $20,000 and they have a certain business and we're going to split the profit. And you didn't see on the contract paper that it's done in line of that, what they're saying out of their mouth. And there is no evidence stating that all is going to be done half-half, discussion and everything, how the money spending is going to be shared equally, the knowledge of how the business is running and everything is going to be done half-half, then you're being tricked or scammed. And that is the same of the birth certificate. There was no full disclosure. They didn't have no disclosure to the back of the birth certificate telling you that you're going to be a property for the slave master. You're going to be a slave. You're subject to him and his dominion, because the birth certificate wasn't created by you in the first place. It was created by these cooperative states. Okay? In 1492, when Pope Innocent signed the birth certificate to chattel indigenous people, it was them who created it. It wasn't created from our Aboriginal descendants. We didn't have these fraudulent documents that would take one from his natural self and turn him to a property, identify as a straw name in all caps on a birth certificate. We didn't have that. That didn't come from us. And we wasn't using our people as to make them slave, as to send them to go work and they pay all these taxes and there is no benefit going for them more than us, the ones who claim we who uphold the system, such as the politicians and the civil servants. They are the ones who's benefiting from your money, and the one who create the colony, such as Great Britain. Okay, so both Williams create this colony called St. Vincent and the Grenadines, but the island is Uromi, and the Queen is in control. She literally admits she don't own islands, she own colony, referred to as cooperative state, which is known as government. And it's the politicians and the civil servants who's upholding our colony and promoting genocide against their own people. And she said when she was asked by Malawian chief and one from the Amazon, she admitted it's against her policy to tell the people that is the birth certificate that's still making them a slave, and that they could get out of it. All they have to do is denounce the citizenship and take the rights as Aboriginal. She said it's against her policy, she can't do that. They will have to find that out on their own. So once you are aware of what they do and how they use the system to trick and deceive you, it becomes powerless of you, because then you can make the necessary step and change. Unless you're an ignorant run, you're being paid to keep the system up like the politicians and the civil servants, you wouldn't care, because for you, all you see is money. So you would kill and destroy your own people for money. So you would literally, like the politicians, sell their own people out to these slave master who created a colony and just talk about yes you honor, yes you are, and say he's signing his sway allegiance. He and all of them. They're all criminals, committing genocide against their own people. So the issue is, all you have to do is try to be aware of your surroundings, how life is running, and see why certain things just don't make sense and it's so unfair. If the earth was created natural and everything is natural because the water is flowing from the stream, there is no God up there telling you that you have to pay for collect his water to drink. The fishes in the ocean, there is no God waiting out there and telling you can't throw your line here. You have to pay before I could allow you to catch a fish. The food that you plant, there is no God telling you that you can't plant food in my earth. You have to pay me to plant a seed before it could be grown. There is nothing like that. Everything is naturally provided from nature freely. So how can these thieves try to tell me that they can set up a cooperative state and try to restrict one's rights and privilege from your freehold and your livelihood and your liberty, and tells you but you have to pay tax to let a country run, to let a cooperative state run? Yo, that is the essence of barbaric, inhumane, destructive, and genocide against one nation. And they're gonna come and tell you that your land is Crown land. How can my indigenous land be Crown land when they have no authority over my land? When they came here and literally try slaving my ancestors to get the land and write up fake documents and call treaty and say that my ancestors sell them the land. All that is fraud. It is fraud. Null and void. It is not real. I want to know when most of my people are going to start off critical thinking, acknowledging that they have been led astray and they are confused with reality and fiction. And when we indigenous people speak the truth, instead of researching for themselves and seeing the facts that we're speaking from, is what they should acknowledge and try to change it by acknowledging that they are being tricked all the days of their lives and lied to and deceived to by the system. And now that they have the evidence out there, research, and when you see the truth, make the necessary change so you could stop yourself and your generation to come from being deceived and tricked just the same. Ish! That's the whole process of everything. That's the whole process of it. That's the process of everything. Okay? And so therefore, we as indigenous people would only come out here and share the knowledge and try to break it down to you in many different levels so that we would refer to it, that it could reach you and it could grasp in your head, and that you get a little more understanding in a clear way where you could break it down and follow from where we're coming from. Because I don't really like seeing my brothers and sisters so disturbed and mentally confused and disabled. And most of the, I would say, retarded ones are those who claim they have a certificate in gynecology, you know, a bachelor degree in doctorate for physiology, gynecology, you're doing some pediatric and you got your bachelor degree, and then you're gonna complain to people like you know it all and you're Mr. Intelligent because you're working behind a corrupted system to keep destroying life. So you're gonna act like because you buy a big house with borrow money from the bank and you work in a big job and you got your big doctor office, you're bigger and brighter than the regular man and you're better than them, and you're gonna try to boast when you're living in ignorance, because you too is what you call a puppet. You're under a system that has you as chattel property. You're still a slave. And when we speak to people like them, they act like, what are you talking about? What are you saying? I don't understand that. But deep inside, if you could relate, where you could pick up where I'm coming from and just try to do a little research and see if in 1492, when slavery began, they didn't use the birth certificate to chattel them. Because I just want to ask you, if the birth certificate was given to you from your indigenous ancestors, I know you can't confirm that because we didn't have that. That was used to chattel indigenous people as property. That's one highlight I will break down for you. And I will highlight how did the cooperative name St. Vincent and the Grenadines come around. I know you can't tell me my indigenous ancestors created that. You're going to tell me that it came from the colonial processes. So it's a slave colony. So how could you be independent in the first place if you're still under a slave colony? You can't, because that cooperative slave colony is owned by someone and you have to pay tax to keep that running. Okay, that means you are allowed referred to as property. Same way, it was undisclosed, the birth certificate, fraudulent document. That's why in the Constitution at the age of 18 you have the right to throw it away. You have the right to make your own choices and do not be a part of that, because that has no legal binding to you. It's fraud. There was no meeting of the mind in that contract. So unless you're not aware of the trick, then you will always be tricked. But once you are aware of the scam and the tricks that was sent out to deceive you, then you can make the choice and then you can do what is right to change it and make sure that the generation to come stand for what is right. Peace, love, light.